Well, Talk of the Town is up and running in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, USA. I'm Scott Montesano. So excited to have you with us. Of course, this is where the Chippewa Valley comes to talk. And as always, we've got plenty to get to today. Excited for tonight, Thursday night, more high school basketball with our friends on 93.5 FM. We'll have Altoona girls basketball against Ellsworth. Altoona girls against Ellsworth on Thursday. Looking for a better bout than we got on Tuesday night as we had the Crosstown Showdown in girls basketball at Memorial. Ran roughshod over Eau Claire North. And it was disappointing in the sense that you didn't have any excitement going into the game. In fact, there weren't a lot of students at the game. You have a North Memorial Showdown in basketball, in girls basketball, and you didn't have much buzz in the gymnasium or anything. And part of it is North has had a struggle the last couple of years with the program, and I think a lot of people just assume it was going to be a blowout, and ultimately it did. Hopefully that rivalry can get back to having some more juice to it. Memorial and North boys, by the way, this upcoming Tuesday. But tonight, Thursday, Altoona against Ellsworth in girls basketball, and looking forward to drizzling the audible chocolate for all of you on that one. We've got some fun stuff to get to today. Did want to start off with this, a little bit of a brag, a self-brag. We keep telling you, and the podcast has done great numbers. If you haven't already, whether you live in Chippewa Falls or not, a talking point, a talk of the town, has been the school district going with Dr. Brad Sarin as the new superintendent. He'll take over in July for the retiring Jeffrey Holmes. And, of course, where Brad Sarin's coming from is Sun Prairie, where that school district has had some controversies over the last few months. And the more you learn about it, we don't follow Sun Prairie stuff here on a day-to-day basis. Neither do you. And, again, sort of the warning flares went up. People said, hey, this guy got hired, but, there's some shenanigans going on down in Sun Prairie. So immediately you start thinking, well, why are you hiring this guy? All right, and he's the superintendent. Stuff's going on. They had I think it was a principal that got arrested for what was it, child pornography? There's stuff going on, and there's a group of parents down there that are upset. Why would you touch this guy? This guy seems to have a stain. And now, the more you learn, information is power, and you are allowed, by the way, to, one, not allow your initial thought to be what you stay stubborn with, and two, you're allowed to fully formulate your ideas over the course of a couple of weeks. The more you learn, the less you know he had anything to do with it. He had nothing to do with it. All right, it's the equivalency if there's somebody at a McDonald's. Sun Prairie's a big school district, huge. I think it's like twice the size of Eau Claire's. So it's a big school district. This would be the case. Let's say you have in town a McDonald's, and there is a worker at the McDonald's that turns out they're stealing from the till. Do you blame the CEO of McDonald's? No, you don't blame the CEO of McDonald's. And that's kind of how much separation there was between, Brad Sarin and what was going on with this, and apparently the way he handled things and all that was cleared. So it's unfortunate when you Google his name, but he had nothing to do with it. It was never investigated, nothing. He has nothing to do with it. I keep bringing this up because we've got the interview with him on Monday. Go and listen to it. It's his only public comments. EAU, one of their young pup reporters, you could tell she was a little frustrated. She wrote the article on EAU and said, well, we can't get him to talk yet. We've been trying to reach out to him. Hey, he spoke to us. So you go back to that interview on Monday with Dr. Brad Sarin, and yes, he does address in length what's going on in Sun Prairie. He goes into length with it. So go to that. Just wanted to kind of have a humble brag. Also wanted to say this. I put this down in the promo for the show today. So myself and the City of Altoona's police department, we're cool now. We're even. We weren't even for a while. The City of Altoona Police Department owed Scotty, owed Uncle Scotty a big one. All right? They owed Uncle Scotty a big one. We're cool now. Why do I say this? Well, last night, Wednesday night, driving back home after a podcast recording, and I'm actually not driving home. I'm having to go through Altoona from River Prairie to go pick my son up from a baseball training facility, and I blow right by a stop sign. The stop sign that's right there by the school and the youth baseball field. I blow right by the stop sign. Didn't really notice it at the time, but I blew right by it. I wasn't thinking. And immediately, whoop, whoop, lights behind me. Lights. This is 5:30 at night. Lights behind me, whoop, whoop. I'm like, what the heck? I don't get pulled over all that often. I'm like, oh, my God. You always get that little sick feeling in your stomach. And as an aside, I am a middle-aged white male. I can only imagine what some other members of our population feel if I got the pit in my stomach. But I got this pit in I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, actually, at first, I didn't really know what I had done. As soon as he told me what I did, I went, oh, shoot, you're right. Comes up, and I go, he comes up. It's a very young cop, and he goes, hey, I'm pulling you over because you blew by. And I start going, I'm so sorry. Because I do travel that route regularly. I'm like, oh, my God, I can't believe I missed it. I'm so apologetic. He's like, hey, no problem. Do you have your license and registration? So I give him my stuff. He goes back. Actually, he doesn't even ask for my registration. He asks for my insurance card. So maybe he's so young he doesn't even know what to ask for. And I go back. He goes back, and he comes back 3 minutes later, and he says, I'm giving you a warning, and I'm on my way. I very much deserved a ticket. But he gave me a warning and so on. So here's why I say we're even to the folks with the Altoona Police Department. Way back in 2017, I'm driving on Highway 53. This is a Thursday night. I always remember this. It's Thursday night. It's about 5 o'clock. I'm on my way to Eau Claire North to do a volleyball game. And as I'm getting around River Prairie, I'm driving in the right-hand lane. Over in the left-hand lane is a semi. Next thing you know, I get clipped by the semi in my rear driver's side, spun around, and I'm up against the grill of the semi, and I am pushed half a mile, if not a mile, felt like it was 3 miles, to the North Crossing exit ramp as he then pulls off the side of the road. How I did not end up tumbling over and him just monster trucking me, I have no idea. I lived, clearly. Car destroyed. My car literally was that of like looking at a deer smushed up against the grill of a semi. So all the king's horses, all the king's men come see I'm fine and all that. Got a new car out of it. City of Altoona Police Department is who responded. The City of Altoona Police Department posted on their Facebook page photos of the accident. And by the way, I was 100% cleared of it. I got pretty much a whole new car paid for it. Insurance cleared me, everything. Cops, I did nothing wrong. It was the semi who came over and clipped me. The police department writes on their social media page how much it was the driver's fault. And people got to be careful around semis, or this could happen to you. And I was so bitter about that. They didn't call me out by name, but a lot of people in the community knew it was me. Because I don't know if you know this, I've got kind of a big mouth, and I was very happy I survived. It was one of these averted death moments, and the City of Altoona Police Department throws me under the goddamn bus. I almost literally got thrown underneath the semi. So I was bitter. But after last night, in what I should very much have gotten a ticket for, they let me slide. So City of Altoona Police Department, you and I, we're cool. We're cool now. Your asshole social media post from back in 2017, water under the bridge. Water under the bridge. All right. We don't talk a lot of state politics on this program. In fact, we don't talk that much about the state representatives, which we better start doing a little bit more of, because they are kind of operating without, I don't want to necessarily say checks and balances, but many ways without us even thinking about them. And I do have to get on some of our podcasters about maybe inviting more of them on. We've had Jesse James on a couple of shows, Clinton Moses over in Menominee. But a guy we've never had on a podcast. And we got to start, again, I got to start getting my podcasters to reach out to more politicians. In fact, I'll make a note of that. You're going to see me write it down here. Podcasters, reach out to more politicians. I'm telling them, those shows end up doing the best anyway. Okay. So Christian Phelps is who represents a good swath of Eau Claire and other parts of western Wisconsin down around Osseo and that area. Christian Phelps is a Democrat. We'll get to that in a moment. On Tuesday, the Wisconsin legislature passed a number of bills. Now, some with only Republican support. Republicans are in the majority. But one bill in particular passed with overwhelming bipartisan support, which should be celebrated. AB 677. Don't expect you to remember that, but it gives you context. AB 677 is a legislation which makes grooming, as in an adult grooming a child, sexually, a felony in Wisconsin. A no-brainer, right? They tightened up the law. Tried to fill in some loopholes, if you will. The author of the bill, a Republican from Pleasant Prairie, said the bill will protect children. Assembly Minority Leader Greta Neubauer, a Democrat minority leader, noted the bipartisan effort of the legislation. The bill passed overwhelming, again, bipartisan support. There are 99 people in the legislative hall. It passed 93-6. So 6, for whatever reason, voted against it. All Democrats, that includes Christian Phelps, a Democrat socialist. Odd that he voted against it. I don't think he's necessarily for the grooming of children by adults. I think that would be a pretty far leap to take. Rather sick take to take, if you will. But no statement on his social media as to why he voted against this. In fact, going through the last 2 months, no statement from him why he'd be against such a bill. It seemed like a rather no-brainer. There were a number of bills that Democrats tried to vote down on Tuesday. By the way, no statement on those either. Instead, what he took time to do on his social media was celebrate students walking out of classes to protest ICE activities around the country, notably in Minnesota, which is fine. It's fine that he wants to celebrate students standing up for something they believe in, which, whether you're for ICE or against ICE or anything like that, students walking out, I don't necessarily have as much of a problem with that. But he has no explanation for why he voted against a bill like this that had Democratic support. How does that benefit the people in this area? And in the jump ahead, Phelps is very much that of a Democrat in the state who wants to view himself as fixing the entire country. He's thinking he's sitting in Congress when, in fact, he's sitting in Madison. Just like we on a local level, you've got people that sit in downtown Eau Claire that want to pretend when they're sitting in downtown Eau Claire, they're sitting in Washington, D.C. Phelps represents, again, Eau Claire, Osseo, parts all over western Wisconsin. We will get to the fact he quickly pivoted to more of a socialist agenda soon after winning election a little more than a year ago, but this vote needs more explanation from him. This seems like a no-brainer. Increase the penalties for such actions. There wasn't anything else hidden in the bill. It wasn't like there's something buried in the bill that he can go and say, well, they had to sneak this in as part of it. There's nothing else in the bill. Now, Christian Phelps is young. You look at him, he could play a 14-year-old in a Hollywood movie. He'll probably be carded till he's 38. That's not a bad thing. He might look at it right now as being a negative. It's not a bad thing. He'll appreciate his youthful looks in a while. Now, did he get bullied into voting no by the 5 other wackadoodles? Did he vote no out of being stubborn for something? Now, he has run into a number of roadblocks, and you can sense his frustration on his social media. It's as much the frustration of being a representative in a minority party as much it is the frustration of a young adult in any business who comes in idealistic, hasn't quite been worn down by life like many of us have over time, and doesn't quite like, why can't you work with me? He's got that kind of frustration, which we all went through, and everybody has to, and we all thought 20 years ago when we were younger that we wouldn't go through. Everybody does. So he's got that. My advice to him, by the way, is you aren't winning anything for our community by standing by your quote-unquote morals, whatever they may be, your convictions. The overwhelming majority of those who are in this community just want action. They want action. And if you compromise, you'll be a god. Compromise is not a loss. And you know what, son? Yeah, you may have to give up 80% to get 20%. Pick your spots to do that. And then maybe you get some 50-50. And you'd be surprised it might turn. Not only that, if you compromise and say, hey, look, I was willing to do X, Y, Z that was wanted, and they still wouldn't accept, then the problem goes to the other side. Instead, by doing something like you just did, whoever may think of running against Christian Phelps should circle this 10 times over. That's your entire campaign against him. That's your entire campaign against him. Christian Phelps voted against this bill that had all Democrat support. That's all you have to do. It's a dumb move business-wise. It's a dumb move politically. And I don't see how you are representing this community by what you did. And it's a window into what you might be thinking. The deeper issue is he has noted more of a socialist trend. And I'll come right out and say it. The New York City mayor's race, notwithstanding, it's not just establishment opposed to socialism or socialistic ideas. It's the majority of the country. It plays against the fiscal conservative nature that people are naturally inclined to. Even Democrats have a hint of fiscal conservativity with their own lives. There also aren't many quote-unquote wins for socialism worldwide to point to. What you might think is a win, people that have got firsthand experiences with them go, yeah, but they're also leaving out all the negatives that come with it too. There is no perfect solution. And maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see this area as being socialist. Could the area lean liberal? Oh, yeah. But it's a big jump to go from liberal to socialist. And the facts are facts. Younger populations are leaning more conservative. You can get that both factually, you can get that anecdotally. You just start talking to more people around college campuses, including UW Eau Claire, and they'll note it's not about a huge jump in the Republican Party or anything like that. Just, students are more conservative than they were in the past. And the strength of the liberal Democratic Party in Eau Claire has been the presence of the university. And there is a chance that strength becomes a weakness at some point. So Christian Phelps has got to explain himself a little bit on this. And maybe he's got a great explanation, something we're all missing out on. Because he, as I said, doesn't look like there's anything in that bill that would have ruined our area, that would have hurt our area. I mean, frankly, until he speaks out about it, you sound like you're protecting people that do this. Explain yourself. Did you just not want to vote for it because, it's the old established Democrats and old crusty people don't know and I'm young and I've got energy? Why? Why? And if anything, you've just hurt yourself again with the... The problem with all politicians, even the local ones, is they surround them. Whenever they put on an event or they're out in public, more often than not, here's the only feedback politicians get. They either get nasty emails that come to them from people that oppose that are full of misspellings and capitalize and profanity at them and yell at them. So, like anybody else, they go, okay, I got to forget that person. So they either get yelled at or they have the group of people around them that say, you're doing a great job. Best of luck. Hey, I love what you're doing. They usually don't get constructive criticism, like real, actual constructive criticism. Moving on, the Altoona schools, and we knew this for the last week or so, and they finally have officially announced it. The Altoona schools putting forth a referendum, going back to the table as they did a couple of years ago. Remember, Altoona a couple of years ago had a chance to purchase the old National Business Institute, expand the footprint of the school as it grows, and it narrowly failed. Well, the Altoona schools are going to put forth another referendum. I think it's April, if I saw that. So they're going to come right out. Is it April or is it going to be in after that? I'll have to double check on that. But the schools are putting forth a new referendum to fund physical improvements to these school buildings. Nothing really sexy with what's going on. Nothing really sexy at all. With what they're buying or what they're looking to do, and this all comes back to levy limits and costs rising. And I think Altoona's been pretty good with the initial announcement, pretty straightforward. I do recommend go and listen to the EduCast podcasts, where Heidi Eliopoulos has brought on guests, and they've gone up and in as to really explaining the funding problem with schools. And I recommend everybody go and listen to those. Because, yes, there are times where schools have mismanaged their own budgets and there's a lot of pork in the school spending and this and that, and they're missing maybe revenue chances. Absolutely. But right now you're putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound if your only answer that you have out there is, well, the school's spending too much money on personnel. If you fired if you fired a couple of the staff members that maybe are redundant in a school, it's not going to fix it. You still need this. You still need this. And I'm going to tell you right now, folks, we want to keep our public schools strong. We need our public schools strong. There is this rise of the private education, but the issue with the private education is right now it is still in it's unproven. It just kind of is. And I know we don't necessarily like all of the red tape and the state government and federal government is saying what we have to teach in schools and this and that and the other thing. And you can point out, well, they had this wrong 20 years ago and that wrong 30 years ago. Well, how do you know the private schools right now are 100% right? And I understand for some people, private schools, all of these, Bob's Widget Shop Academy or, Chris's Classical Education, all these various things that are out there, I get it. I understand it. That it's a better fit for people for any number of reasons, but this is the public schools are proven in markets. They're proven in markets. So, we don't want the public schools going away. A group spoke to this. We touched on this a little bit earlier this week. A group spoke to the city council earlier this week. A group of young adults, urging the city council, the Eau Claire City Council, to take a stand against ICE. As of now, no action by the city council, which I applaud. Emily Berge, who again is running for the congressional seat, she did pen an open letter that, yes, says Eau Claire as a community is welcoming to immigrants and supports our neighbors, but it's not inflammatory. Remember, Emily Berge, along with our esteemed city manager, basically called all of us rubes in this area to national media about a year and a half ago when Kamala Harris had her visit to the area in August of that year, and people thought Eau Claire was going to be, and Wisconsin was going to be a toss-up state. So all the media came here, and that was during the Somali refugee debate and all of that. And Berge and the city manager both pretty much threw us under the bus, saying, I'm not exaggerating too much when I say they pretty much all called us country hicks. It was a bad look for Berge. It was a really bad look for Berge. It was almost like they didn't think we were going to see it. Kind of like there was a politician in Menominee upset about the data center and all that, and she spoke to national media outlets, kind of forgetting that people locally are going to get that are going to get your interview too. But as an aside, by the way, over in Menominee, Sidney Brennan, who's been really against all of was for the data center, against all the pushback on the data center. Apparently she's going to be leaving Menominee, leaving the area. Fiance, I guess, has a job somewhere. Fiance or husband has got a job somewhere. God, she can't be 25 years old. I celebrate marriage. The number of people I'm running into now that are getting married under the age of 25 is amazing. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I got married when I was 27. I actually think that's a sweet spot. I think 25 to 30 is a sweet spot to get married. But as long as you get married and it's a happy marriage and you're still married 50 years from now, God bless you. God bless you. I mean, I'm not saying that tongue-in-cheek. God bless you. We got to celebrate marriage more often and successful marriages more often. But I digress. Getting back to Eau Claire and Emily Berge here. So she penned an open letter and all that, but it wasn't inflammatory or anything like that. When it comes to the city council and ICE, and you had this group speak, anything the city does, all it would potentially do is ferment overreaction and is nothing but performative. What did I say earlier on in the podcast? You're in Eau Claire. You're not in Washington. You're in Eau Claire. You're not in Washington. ICE has been active in and around our area for the better part of the last 2 weeks, doing what they do, something that was a major reason a number of people voted for the current administration. Now, I don't think a lot of people like I don't think people on any side, either side, obviously like the protesters being just annoying, nor the performative show of force by a fall military group. That does not look good. All right? ICE acting like a bunch of bullies, all right, a bunch of small penis bullies, doesn't do ICE any good, right? What they're doing right now in the Twin Cities is nothing more than a stupid show of force, and the protesters aren't backing down either, but they're not advancing their cause at all. What I think more so with all of this is, if I'm the city, I'm not saying let's become a sanctuary city or anything along those lines. You stay out of the fight. You stay out of the fight. People can protest in the city if you want. You've got open right to protest. You're more than welcome to protest in the city and have one of these protests. We saw one out when I was in New Richmond on Saturday for youth hockey for my son. There was one at a corner, group of maybe a couple dozen people with flags. They had the American flag upside down and that whole thing. But, they were against ICE and all that. Good. Hey, let people know, we're against it and show solidarity and all of that. You can definitely do that. But the city of Eau Claire coming out and putting down a statement on something like this, that's hard for people in this community. Don't make statements about things like this. You weren't voted on based on your thoughts on federal policies. People I voted for, I don't want to see you. You're representing me. I want you to represent me on making sure our streets are plowed and all that sort of thing. It's not mundane. It's not mundane for that. If you start making a stand out of nowhere, like we did that stupid thing 10 years ago about, we stand with the Paris Climate Accord. I didn't vote for you based on whether you were for or against it. You represent me. Kind of same thing with Christian Phelps. I, Scott Montesano, will go on record in saying I am against grooming of children and hope anybody that does anything sexually with children has a well, I'm very much happy if it's a felony. We'll see if Christian Phelps ends up writing something on his social media feed. Probably will take more time though to write something. A lot of his social media feed involves stuff up trying to get up the butt of the Trump administration, because of course that's exactly what a state representative in Madison should be focused on. All right. We will be back with you on Tuesday, another edition of the program then. On behalf of everyone who made this podcast possible, I'm Scott Montesano saying this great, big, beautiful tomorrow shining at the end of every day. Make sure to take advantage of it. And until next time.